This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened. In a life-or-death struggle, we must be prepared to act quickly. The slightest delay can be fatal. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of terror, bravery, and teamwork on Rescue 911. We begin on the afternoon of December 2nd, 1990, on Lake Monroe in Sanford, Florida, as hundreds of sailboats were taking part in the largest inland boat race in America. Throughout the two-day event, more than 650 boats competed in a series of races held on 6 different areas of the lake. On racecourse number 4, a triangular-shaped course covering roughly 4 square miles, Dave Backus and his crew, his wife Laura and a good friend, were finding the competition intense.
We were just trying to get around the course and finish in good grace and style because we were at that time second to last in the final race. We had sailed into what I would describe as a lull. There was just very little air. Our sails went very limp.
Their friend Guy Atkins had never competed in a big race before. On that day, he was responsible for the spinnaker pole, which controls the front sail.
Guy had gone out the week before, but we hadn't really been together that many times like you should be in a hardcore racing boat because he doesn't sail as much as I do.
He stepped up on the deck to physically move the pole. David, my husband, was controlling the tiller. I was controlling the ropes that fly the spinnaker.
We just thought, well, we're going to take a little swim here, and then we're going to raise it back up real quick and empty the water out of it and sail home.
What are you doing? Get away from the boat. I can't. Get out from under the sail. My foot's caught. Let me come over.
Guy had his leg trapped, but he was fine. You know, the water was below his shoulders. He was in his life jacket.
Stop. He's caught on.
You know, I was ready to cut lines, whatever. But it's very murky. It's hard to see.
We weren't having any luck. The air pockets in the hull began to fill up. We began to sink just by inches.
I swim out to the end of my mast, and I put my life jacket on the end of the mast so that the boat won't completely turn over. We don't want to turtle the boat. As I repeatedly dive, you could just see the cables. He's caught between the 2 thickest steel cables on my boat that hold up my mast. These cables normally are extremely taut. They're not going to wiggle more than an inch either way.
Susan McCann was sailing with her fiancé when she saw they were in trouble.
At that point, I didn't see the trapped man. So I don't know what the problem was. Maybe they couldn't swim.
Help! Somebody come and help us!
They said, if this boat turtles, we have her drowning here.
Word of the situation was quickly passed to the chase boats.
A powerboat skippered by Bill Snyder came to assist.
As I approached the boat there, his head was just barely out of the water.
Every time a big wave came over, it's just kind of hitting him in the face, and he's, taking in some water, choking a little bit.
The guy at that point stopped talking, and he was not panicking or anything, but he just seemed kind of in his own world.
All squadron vessels, and this is a ship obsession. Does anyone have any wire cutters? We need some wire cutters over here in course 4. We got a guy trapped in a sailboat over here. We need a cutting free.
Can you lift it at all? Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Put it down. Put it down.
Guy yelled out, what are you doing? That hurts, stop it. And when the boat came up and then we brought it back down again with the chop of other boats coming in to help, the boat was sinking down some more.
Let's pull him down. Get him up.
He began to go under just inches below the surface. It was the most frightening experience I have ever had. I tried to get a grip under his arms just so that he would feel like there was someone there with him, but I could not pull him up. We were just in a situation that even though I would have done anything I could have, there was nothing that I could do before he died.
When we continue,
there were people clustered on the bow of the first chase boat screaming to get his foot out of there, and some guy was screaming, break his foot, break his foot. It was crazy.
We have a man trapped over here and drowning. We need help. Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Bill, I'm on my way. This is number 1 buzz.
But the worst part was, watching his hand above his head. They were splashing, and they slowed down, and then I could tell he wasn't moving his hands, but the waves were making his hands float.
He's been a friend for a long time. We had taken him on this sailing weekend and encouraged him to come with us and how much fun it would be, and this is the way it ends.
We need some wire cutters. Help! He's under the water. He's down here.
There were people clustered on the bow of the first chase boat screaming to get his foot out of there, and some guy was screaming, break his foot, break his foot. It was crazy. By this point, they had pulled him up, and I think the skipper was keeping his head out of the water while he tried some rescue breathing.
John Huffer had arrived with a pair of wire cutters.
I was concentrating 100% on just cutting that wire.
I grabbed the 2 shrouds that were holding his leg, pulled them enough apart.
Okay. Pull! Pull! Gotta get him up! Pull! Pull! I got him! Pull! Is he breathing?
The last thing that was holding him in the rigging was this humongous tennis shoe. So I unlaced his shoe and pulled it off, and then put my shoulder against his foot and pushed for everything I was worth, and his foot popped loose, and I heard things snapping and popping, and I was sure I had broken it in about a dozen places. On the other hand, I didn't think he'd mind.
Get him out. Got him. All right, here we go. Get him. Good spot. Good spot.
I guess if I had to think about what a dead person looked like, he looked like he was gone.
Push, Daddy, push. Push. Okay.
Sailing instructor Kai Svensson and Steve Sweeteye were both trained in CPR.
I came forward on the boat. If there was a pulse, I couldn't feel it.
He and I sort of touched, with eye contact. I did the chest compressions and he did the mouth-to-mouth. And this having been a new experience for me, I wasn't sure. I figured we'd just bump on him until we got there and hope for the best.
Go, let's go.
We're doing CPR on this guy, and there's no room on the bow of this boat. His feet are dangling in space in front of the boat, and we're doing maybe 35, 40 knots in 1.5 waves, holding on for our lives, working on this guy. We're soaked, it's freezing. It was an incredible ride.
Copy this, we're coming in with a man on the boat. We're going to bring him to the East Basin and the rescue people there. Bill, slow down.
Slow down. We're getting a pulse. Slow down.
We were probably about halfway across the lake when we stopped in the water. Basically, the guys that were doing said, I can't tell whether he's got any pulse or not.
He's coming. He's good.
I felt the first pulse that I felt, and we could hear breathing. I was truly amazed.
You got a pulse. He's breathing. Don't push him no more, man.
An overwhelming feeling of joy and relief came over me.
He was still cold and blue, and we closed his eyelids. And we brought him into the marina this way. And I have to hand it to the driver. He, without any concern for his boat, just put it up on the ramp. And we handed him right over the bow, and Zippy was gone.
"34-year-old Guy Atkins was transported to a nearby hospital for treatment. After 5 days, he was released, to the great relief of all those who worked to save him.
It is, in my opinion, one of the higher privileges of mankind to be able to save the life of another human being.
I'm amazed he's walking around today. I'll never forget what he looks like, though. At least wet.
To each of them, I owe them my life. The only scars I have are a few scars on my leg.
We had been married 9 months, and then he had the accident. And my first year of marriage was extremely exciting, but I can deal without that much excitement for the rest of my life. So I'm hoping for continued calm waters.
Did we win that race? There are certain preparations that are probably essential. One of those is learning how to do CPR. Without CPR, I would have been dead on December the 2nd. I don't know if I'm here for any special purpose. I'm just glad that I have the opportunity now to see how my life will turn out.
Every day, 911 dispatchers do their best to protect and serve the public. But sometimes the calls they get make that job very difficult. At 11:25 a.m. on the morning of November 10th, 1989, in Newington, Connecticut, police dispatcher Paul Jensen got just such a call.
Newington Police.
This 911?
Yes.
Okay, listen, I'm calling from Robbins Avenue in Newington. I'm making a citizen's arrest on 2 felons in here. I've got them in the back room. I'll release them only to the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
What is going on?
At first I thought it might be a hoax, but something in his voice told me that he really was meaning what he said.
I'm holding a gun on 2 hostages here who are guilty of mail fraud, among other things. And I won't release them to anyone but the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
It didn't make too much sense. He was talking about various felonies and federal crimes that had been committed. It didn't sound logical for the town of Newington to have people doing this.
You're holding a gun on these people?
That's right.
This is at Robbins Avenue?
That's right.
Where in the heck is that?
It's between Willard and Maple Hill.
Willard and Maple. It's a private house? Private?
Right.
Okay.
I had to go on the assumption that it wasn't a crank call, and I had to work to get people out to the scene.
Okay, I'll send some people over.
Okay,
right.
I will not release them to anyone but the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Right. I have to talk with the sergeant on that.
Right.
Okay.
District 3 and District 1. We have a 10.
While on patrol nearby, Newington police officer Michael Tack was sent to the scene.
On the way. I received a call that a man was holding 2 people at gunpoint for a minor violation, which is an extreme overreaction to the situation. So I arrived at the scene looking for trouble. When I got there, I met a occupant of the house who came out, and he told me that his brother was holding his other 2 brothers hostage in the back corner of the house.
You guys deserve this. You guys have been waiting for this.
I made my way through the house slowly, and I worked my way towards the bedroom, where I heard the suspect screaming and yelling.
I got you guys for mail fraud and conspiracy. Turn away. Put your hands on the floor.
Police! What's going on in there?
Officer, I'm making a citizen's arrest. I got 2 guys in here for mail fraud. I'm not going to release them to anybody but the FBI.
The most difficult problem is he holds all the cards. If he wants to kill those people, he's going to do it. I need you here. I called for a backup, and negotiators were also dispatched to the scene.
Within minutes, local detectives Jim Lavery and Richard Gable got to the house.
The house looked just like any of the other houses on the street. There was no people around. Officer Tack pointed out the bedroom door that he was behind. Jimmy took up position directly across from that room and tried to start a dialogue with him.
Hey in there.
Who's that?
This is Jim Lavery from the police department. How are you?
All right, Jim, I want to talk to the FBI. I don't want to talk to you.
What are you up to, man?
I have 2 guys under arrest here for mail fraud.
Billy was very, very agitated and screaming and yelling, mostly yelling at his brothers.
Turn around, turn your face around.
It was a dangerous situation, and is that we had a man in a room with 2 other hostages with a loaded gun, and we didn't know for sure what he was going to do with it. But he was going to shoot them, come out at us, or just exactly how he was going to handle it. I tried to talk to the 2 brothers, but he wouldn't let me talk to them. Gable brought me down the telephone. We called Lieutenant Cotter, let him know what was going on so he could take his action.
The head of detectives, Lieutenant William Cotter, set up a command post at the Newington police station.
These situations are horror shows. Sometimes officers are shot, and naturally the risk is always high to the hostages.
Additional police officers were sent to secure the scene.
Detective Layer continued to talk to the individual. We're buying time to hope that he would give it up and let us come in there. We're trying to establish a rapport with the individual, a friendly rapport with him, and a trust with him.
Is anybody in there hurt?
Nobody is hurt. Jim, where's the FBI?
It was Veterans Day, so all federal buildings were closed, and we were trying to buy time by convincing him that, it was tough to find the FBI or people that are out on a holiday like that. The FBI's answering service is on, so I'm trying.
Jim, it's 12:35. I want somebody here from the Federal Bureau of Investigation by 1 o'clock, or I'm sending one of these guys out in a body bag.
Gable noticed that Billy was 10 minutes ahead of all of us. Lieutenant, he just gave us an ultimatum at 1 o'clock. He's going to shoot somebody as well.
As soon as they were given the first ultimatum, Lieutenant Cotter called in the state police SWAT team. But they knew the SWAT team would never get to the house in time.
The tactical team unit to be respond to an incident we have in our community.
Jimmy, time is ticking away.
We're trying as hard as we can, but you got to give me some leeway, man. It's a holiday.
Jim, don't play games with me. You got until 1 o'clock. That's all I can give you.
The most difficult part of the job is keeping the fella peaceful enough where he doesn't hurt anybody or himself. And everything seemed to be working good, and it looked like we were going to get a shot to get through the deadline.
Where's the FBI, Jim?
Just take it easy. We'll get him here, no problem at all.
I got 2 guys in here for mail fraud.
Billy! 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 What did you do? He was in the middle of a sentence to me. It was like the second hammer by the 12, and he just popped him.
I thought that was the end, that he was going to finish both brothers within the room and possibly even do himself.
I got one in the head. I'm going to get that one in the head next time, Jim.
Billy, you be quiet. I want to talk to who you shot. Are you all right?
Yeah.
Where did you get shot?
In the hand.
All right, Billy, I want you to bandage his hand for him.
He wrapped a bandage of some sort around Ned's wrist. Ned said he was going to bleed to death if he didn't tighten it a little bit more.
Are you doing it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
We thought about going into the room, but we felt that if we had gone in at that time, he would have shot both of them again.
Jim, I shot one in the head. The next one I'm shooting in the head.
He told us that there was going to be another shooting, that he was going to soon set another time for another shooting because it didn't seem like we were serious in what we were doing.
While negotiations continued, down at the station, the gunman's other brother was questioned by the SWAT commander.
Does the door swing this way?
Into the room. Brian was helpful to us in that he was able to give us the layout of the house, and give us some indication what kind of a handgun he had, and what the bedroom was, what the furniture was in the room.
Where's Brian?
It's down at headquarters.
I want to talk to Brian.
Billy wanted Brian brought right back to the house. It took a while because they were still trying to debrief him at headquarters. When we finally got him there, Brian was very, very, very nervous.
You all right, Brian?
So he would ask him a simple question, and Brian would just kind of stand there and panic and not know what to say. So Dick would have to whisper the answer to him.
Hey, Brian, You got a cookbook out there?
Yeah, Billy, yeah.
Well, look up roast pork.
He was asking him if he had a cookbook so that he could cook the roast pork, meaning the two brothers that were in there on Sunday when he got done killing them. You know, all kind of really off-the-wall stuff.
As time went on, he asked less and less for Brian, and we started to phase Brian out as much as possible because Brian was very, very emotional.
I'm gonna shoot one in the head.
At 2:30, he gave us the deadline.
You got until 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, one gets shot in the head.
I never felt in my mind ever that he wasn't going to fire, that he wasn't going to shoot.
Less than 20 minutes were left before the second deadline, but the SWAT team was still being briefed at the command post.
There's a briefcase in my bedroom.
Maybe about 2:45. He said that he had a briefcase in his room, and he wanted us to get the briefcase and slide things under the door to him.
He said the FBI would want to see these particular papers. Those were important to make his case against his brothers.
Here it is now, Billy. I have no idea what they were. They had numbers on them. Some were hotel receipts. Some were just scribbling on them. It just seemed a good way to stall till the state police could get there.
No, there's one more I think I'm missing.
There was no communication between the hostages and us. And we didn't have any idea at that particular time if they were alive or dead.
They got a lot of white pieces of paper. Tell me what's on it.
Closing in on 3 o'clock, Jim.
The SWAT commander came in. He said that his men were deploying at that time and that we had 10 minutes till the deadline. And that's when I explained to him that we didn't have 10 minutes. We probably had a minute left because Bill was operating 10 minutes fast and 10 minutes faster than everyone else.
The state police negotiator walked down the hallway and handed me a note. As I was reading the note, I was passing things under the door to him that he wanted.
Billy, you got on that. Diversion! Diversion! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Don't move! Don't move!
We didn't know who was who. We were looking for blood to see who was shot and who wasn't.
Okay, come on. I'm okay. It's right.
The officers took the only brother who wasn't shot into custody. Paramedics were then allowed to treat the wounded brothers, both of whom were shot in the hand.
Nice and easy, nice and easy. Get his feet up in the air. Get him on some O2 and give me a set of vitals. Is this the only wound he has?
When it's over, you're completely exhausted. You have no recall, really, of what you did. You really have a difficult time remembering what you talked about.
I consider both hostages very lucky. Very, very lucky. I don't think it would have ended with the FBI. I think he was bound and determined. He was unstable enough at the time to do what he was going to do.
Billy was declared incompetent to stand trial and committed to not more than 10 years in a maximum security mental hospital. His two brothers whom he wounded were treated and released later that same day. 1 year later, Ned and Tim reflect back on that day and its unanswered questions.
It really wasn't my brother there. It was somebody that I didn't know. I'm not sure what happened to Billy, other than the fact that I know he had a lot of problems over in Vietnam. He was on the front lines over there. And for whatever reason, whether it was Vietnam or whatever, I just hope he gets help, and the help that he needs. As far as I'm concerned, the reason I'm here today is because of the Newington police, and in particular, Jim Lavery. There were numerous times when Billy had gotten out of control, to the point where I didn't think I'd ever get out of there alive. And Jim and Detective Gable calmed him down.
They're brave individuals, the people who rescued us. They knew going in that there was an individual in there with a gun, and they came in anyways. Oh! Tim and I, when we were growing up, we were always fighting each other. He was a Yankee fan, I was a Red Sox fan, and we're closest in age, and we always used to tangle. But after this, there's probably nobody closer than me and Tim. The bond is very close and unbreakable.
And older gather in the small town of Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, to compete in the state senior games. Some of the footage in this story was taped as events unfolded on the morning of August 9th, 1990.
Dr. Michael Cordes was the medical director of the Games.
The day of the race was very, very warm. The humidity was high, and that makes for an extremely difficult time, even with young athletes.
7 runners in the 70 to 74-year-old age range were competing for 3 places to go to the Nationals in the 1,500-meter race.
Hey, it's my day at Bonaparte.
70-year-old Edward Johnson had been running for 12 years, but he was competing in the senior games for the first time at the suggestion of his good friend, Joe Bertoncini.
I've seen 90-year-olds race a 100-yard dash, and it's really terrific. I wish I could do that.
For Ed, running was more than just a sport. It was also a way to stay healthy and strong enough to look after his wife, Wilma, who suffers from multiple sclerosis.
Lately, I have had concern about him racing, but I can't say no to him because he needs the outside interest to keep him going, rather than have to worry about taking care of me all the time.
The director of the Games was Fay Connect.
There was nothing that would have warned you of anything. He had no ongoing medical problems. He had competed in triathlons and stuff like that before.
Medical volunteers watched from the sidelines, including EMT Rosie Sherman.
Mr. Johnson, I think, was a very competitive person, and he was trying to give the race his all, and he did.
The winner completed the 1,500-meter race in just under 7 minutes. Ed was close behind.
He had placed 3rd. He had qualified for nationals.
When I got there, he was still breathing, and then developed agonal breathing, the last few breaths that will occur before someone ceases to breathe entirely. I didn't know whether he had a stroke, whether he had a cardiac event, but if we did not pursue something very quickly, the man was dead.
Volunteer EMT Alma Myers rushed to assist.
Dr. Cordes was taking the carotid pulse, and at that time he said there was no breathing and no pulse, that we had a cardiac arrest.
Something happened up here. They called for medics.
Get him over. Come on. Get him over.
He stopped breathing. No, he stopped breathing.
When they turned Ed over,
Hey, his name is Ed Johnson.
I started to cry. I seen Ed. I says, oh my God, it's Ed, and I'm responsible for his death because I had asked him to come on up to Shippensburg to race. What am I going to say to his wife back home?
His face was very ashen. His mouth was open. His eyes were open. His pupils were fixed. I would say probably the chance of recovery for Mr. Johnson was in the category of maybe 70-30 against.
Help her get the back.
Was he this last time around?
I've been on a lot of cardiac arrest patients, and in the 10 years, I know that I've only saved really one person, and that was 5 years ago. So, you know, I'm there and I'm thinking, you know, the chances are very slim.
Switch. Doesn't look so good, frankly.
They were pushing on his chest and blowing into his mouth, and I could hear somebody say he was dead. It just took everything out of me.
Periodically, what you do is you go over and you check to see if you feel a pulse in the neck.
We have a pulse. We have a pulse. We're breathing.
Hey.
When Dr. Cordes told us that he had a pulse, that he was breathing, I was overjoyed, and really overjoyed when Mr. Johnson looked up and said, well, what was my time? That's all he was worried about, was his time.
Mr. Johnson was and is an extremely lucky individual. He did not have a major heart attack that precipitated the cardiac arrest. He had nothing happen to him other than the fact that he died, and other than the fact that he came back. So he is an extremely lucky man.
Ed Johnson's heart stopped beating for more than 4 minutes. He was released from the hospital the next day. 1 year later, Ed shows no signs of any problems. His daughter Susan is still amazed by his recovery.
That night when my sister brought him through the front door, when we could see for ourselves that he was fine, when he hugged us and it was the same strength that he's always hugged us with, that's the moment when I knew everything was going to be fine.
He has to keep active, and he wants to keep his mind active for the simple reason that his older sisters both have Alzheimer's, and he's worried about getting because it seems to run in the family.
I can sit here and watch television and feel like I'm an old man trying to get out of the sitting position, but that is nothing related to running. As soon as you get out there, you do your stretching exercises, you're ready to run. The body's ready to run. It'll do it.
Recently, Ed got a chance to thank the EMTs who helped to save his life.
A little different than what you saw me last.
Just a little. Hi there.
Bless your heart.
Thank God that the rescue team was nearby.
Love you too.
They did their thing one step at a time, and they brought Ed to within minutes. And I thank them for that, believe me.
This is from all of the company members from CB Hose Company in Shippensburg to you.
Terrific.
So that you always remember.
Thank you for giving me my dad back. I understand. I lost a 6-year-old with cancer, and I understand. See, I lost a husband. That's why I came here.
Undoubtedly, they made the future races possible. That one that fits. I thank them because this is my way of life. Great. I do want to continue with the way of life that I have. I'm very happy that way.
Ed competed in the National Senior Triathlon and placed 6th for his age group.
I was advising him not to race anymore last year, but the attitude that he has, go get it, Ed. Go for the gold, that's what I call it. Go for it.
I knew he wouldn't come in first, but it's just such a great pleasure to see him finish something like that because I know it's his dream.
You did it. Let's get some water.
Very nice.
Hey, you need some water. Great race like that. Thank you. Keep walking. Keep walking. Right?
I love my kids. I love my wife.
Yep. Over here.
My wife, I gotta give her a kiss.
Oh, okay.
And if they're with me in the senior games to help me, I love them and I'll kiss every one of them.
On the evening of August 16th, 1991 in Altoona, Pennsylvania, 15-year-old Dwayne Della was babysitting his 2-year-old niece, Melissa.
Me and Melissa were watching TV, and then I walked into the kitchen to get some ice cream. I opened the freezer door. I reached into the back, then, I sort of stuck my tongue out, and it got stuck. By accident. I tried, breathing hot air on, trying to melt the ice, but it didn't work. And then I tried using my fingernails to, chip the ice away, but that didn't work either. I told Melissa to get me the phone.
Get the phone, please. Melissa. Get the phone. Melissa. Get the phone. Here. Melissa.
and then I called 911.
The watch commander at the police station, Sergeant John Carnicella, was not a dispatcher, but he happened to be passing by as the call came in.
911 emergency. What's your problem?
They were in serious trouble. I thought as a female was being beat up or be stabbed or even worse. My first inclination was get the call traced to get help to the person.
Tracy. What's your address? What's your address?
I told the corporal that we had a domestic situation, that he should start the roll on the call, and I would give him the address once I got it.
Ma'am, give me your address. I'll tell you. What's your address? What's the house? Give me the house number, ma'am. Where at in Washington Avenue? I can't understand you, ma'am. Just try telling me. Don't yell it at me. What's your house number? 20.
It wasn't painful, it was just frustrating because I kept trying to tell him the address, then he couldn't hear what I was saying, and he didn't know what was wrong with me.
I can understand the help part. Okay, what's your first name? Again and softer. Diane. Let's try your address again. I'm not having any luck with your name.
Washington Avenue.
Washington Avenue. What are the numbers?
At that point in time, the 911 trace was completed, and I asked the person if that was the address that they were at.
That's in Lexington Avenue.
The address was passed to Corporal Jeffrey Auker.
When officers respond to domestic calls, generally they're considered the most dangerous calls that we can respond to. You never know what waits behind the door when you answer a domestic call.
Okay, we have the police on the way. Do you need an ambulance?
Now we knew where the person was. We needed to know what their problem was. We're going possibly into a hostile environment. We could be going into a situation where there could be weapon play.
What's the problem?
My car is stuck to the freezer.
You what?
My car is stuck to the freezer.
Your toe is stuck to the freezer.
Tongue.
Your tongue is stuck in the freezer. Well, how old are you?
15.
You're 15. And what's your problem now exactly? Now you can talk.
I can't talk.
I know you can't talk.
My tongue is stuck to the freezer.
Your tongue is stuck to the freezer.
Well, it was a sort of a revelation to me. I thought, boy, this was a crazy call.
Out to the police!
Scott Cayley was the first officer on the scene.
Out to the police!
I didn't get any response, so I walked down off the stoop and I went around to a first-story window and looked inside. I really didn't know what to think at that point. Tried to open the door, but it was locked.
Out to the police!
I heard some screaming inside. The little girl came over at that point because she heard me jiggling the doorknob, and she tried to unlock the door.
That's it, unlock it, honey. Try and unlock it. Come on now.
Officer Gerald McCauley was the next to arrive.
Oh, have you got it?
Now, Officer Cayley was at the front door. I told him to step aside, I'll kick the door in. He stated no, we couldn't do that because the little girl was on the other side of the door attempting to unlock it for us.
Let go, honey. Just move away from the door.
Corporal Auker soon joined the other officers trying to get in.
We decided to enter from the rear, but these are adjoining row houses and there's no entry to the backyard. So myself and Officer McCauley went next door and ran through the house.
Curtains up, we can see inside.
We came around the corner and there's a kid with his face frozen to the freezer, like a moon pot. And there was a massive frozen blood, and his tongue was stuck to that. It's not something that you're taught at the academy or that's in the first aid manuals.
Get you out of there.
So we did what we thought was right and began getting glasses of warm water from the tap and pouring them over the boy's tongue and mouth.
A few minutes, son. Just relax. I got you. At which point, the young man said, with his tongue stuck there, "That's hot water." Let's got you off of there.
Probably after 6 or 8 glasses of water, his tongue came free and we were able to get him away from the refrigerator.
Okay, put that on there. Bite down on that.
It was like a circus. We went from where we thought we were going to be going into a violent domestic call. We went in there and broke the doors down and did damage to the house to get in. And the only way we can figure to help him out is to throw water on him. And we practically drowned him trying to rescue him.
We'll take care of this now.
When paramedic Jim Effinger and his partner arrived, they determined the extent of Dwayne's injury.
It's your mouth. Now, once you relax, we took the towel from him and inspected the tongue. And basically what we saw was just a small reddened area with a small cut on the tongue, about 1/4 of an inch. I just want to take your pulse. Dwayne was a lucky kid. He could have lost his tongue from severe frostbite. He wouldn't be able to talk, would not be able to swallow. He couldn't chew his food properly, so that would have been a real tragedy.
The toughest part was waiting for the police to come because I didn't ever think I was going to get my tongue off the freezer. I could move around a little bit, but I couldn't, move real far because, tongue's not that long.
The city of Altoona made 2-year-old Melissa Garman an honorary police officer in recognition of the crucial assistance she gave her uncle that night.
I think Melissa's a real hero. If she hadn't picked up that phone and handed it to him, he couldn't have made that phone call. We couldn't have traced it. And, the neighbors didn't know what was going on because he wasn't yelling loud enough because his tongue was frozen.
It was freaking nice.
I'm really proud of Melissa because she's smart. Because if she wouldn't have got the phone for me, I wouldn't have got off until my sister got home. When I'm older, I'll probably think about this and laugh because it doesn't happen to that many people. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's never to stick your tongue out when you're reaching into the freezer.